Welcome to Science. Today we're going to be making hail. The materials we're going to need are 1 cup of crushed ice, 1 250 milliliter beaker, salt, water, a stirring rod, and 1 very clean test tube. The first thing we're going to do is pour 100 milliliters of water into the beaker. We're going to make sure we have the beaker sitting on the table so we can look carefully and make sure it's up to 100 milliliters. Alright, so that's at 100 milliliters. Now we're going to add ice till the water reaches 200 milliliters. Alright, so once that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to pour enough salt so that even after stirring with the stirring rod, some salt will still be seen at the bottom. So it's a lot of salt. We can have more salt. We can't have too little. So as we can see, what's happening now is we're starting to get a little bit on the edge. If you can see, it looks like it's condensation. See how if I rub it a little bit, it's coming off. So before we added the ice, there was no condensation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the test tube and place it in the beaker so that it's slanted up against the side. So what I've done is I've added some very clean water to the test tube. It's very important that it's clean and that it's cold. Alright, so it's sitting in the beaker now. And what we're going to do is we are going to stir every minute. So I'm going to take the stirring rod and we're going to stir. Alright, and we're going to let it sit. We're going to do this every minute. Alright, so I'm stirring again for our next minute. Alright, and we stir again. Alright, now if we look closely, we actually have ice that's formed on the outside of the beaker, which is pretty neat. It'll be hard to see on here, but if I rub my finger down it, you can kind of see how the ice has formed. Alright, and this ice on here means that it's reached its dew point. And it's also so cold on the outside that the water, instead of forming to liquid, is formed to ice. Alright, so now we're stirring our last time. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to take the test tube out. Okay, and we're going to add a small chip of ice. Do you see it freezing? That's because the water was super cold. So now our water in our test tube is actually frozen. So if I flip it over, it's now ice, which is pretty cool. So that means that this was water a second ago. When I added the chip of ice, it froze solid. And that's because the water inside the test tube before we added the chip of ice was actually below 0 degrees Celsius, which is called supercooled, which is kind of super cool.